I know we're all here today to celebrate the life of an incredible man. But I want to first say to the whole Kennedy clan, I want to give thanks. Thanks for your father. Thanks for your husband. Thanks for your uncle. Thanks for your brother, who, in an astonishingly and totally unexpected way, ended up playing an important part in every critical moment of my adult life. It was literally an accident of history. But he crept into my heart, and before I knew it, he owned a piece of it. Today, I was thinking about how Teddy was, I wouldn't be standing here were it not for Teddy Kennedy. I wouldn't be standing here as Vice President of the United States. I wouldn't have been a United States Senator were it not for Teddy Kennedy. He was the catalyst for my improbable win as a 29-year-old kid, running for the Senate in a year when Senator McGovern only got 35% of the vote in my state. I was running against a fellow who was extremely popular, an incumbent senator, and although it surprised the hell out of people, and we were coming astonishingly close, we needed something else, and out of the blue, literally, about 8 days before the election, Teddy Kennedy showed up. And he showed up in a neighborhood we refer to as Little Italy in Wilmington, Delaware, and drew a crowd. It was actually a dinner of a couple thousand people, and a community that would vote nationally for the Democrats, but on all the statewide offices always voted Republican, including for the Senate and the House seats. I ended up winning that neighborhood. I ended up winning the election by 3,100 votes. And although I don't know for certain, it seems highly unlikely, Congressman, I would have ever won were it not for your father energizing people the way he did at the very end. I remember what he said. He stood there and he ended the speech by saying, I only have one problem with Joe Biden. I think he's a little too young to be a senator. And literally, the next day, the Wall Street Journal played it straight. Kennedy says Biden too young for the United States Senate. But 7 weeks later, when my wife and daughter were killed in an automobile accident, and my two boys were very badly injured and hospitalized, one of whom was with me here today, Hunter, the other's in Iraq, I got a call from your dad. And I didn't know your dad too well. I mean, I just met him that one time. And here I was, an Irish Catholic kid from Scranton, Pennsylvania, who only thought of Teddy Kennedy and the entire Kennedy family in sort of distant terms, hushed tones. And here he was on the phone. And he not only was on the phone, but he called me in that hospital almost every day. And about every other day I turned around, literally, Vicki, there was another specialist from Boston, Massachusetts, one of your great hospitals, sitting next to me, who I never asked for and didn't know I needed, but I needed. He was the prod who convinced me to go to the Senate, because I had told my governor after that election, the governor-elect, to be precise, my brother did, that we were going to appoint someone else. I didn't want to go to the Senate. And it was your brother who came to see me to tell me that I owed it to my deceased wife and my children, at least to be sworn in and stay for at least 6 months. And when I got to the Senate, he would literally come by once or twice a week to my office in the middle of the afternoon, and I didn't want to be there. I wanted to get the hell home. I didn't want to be around. And John, he took me for the first time I ever went to the Senate gym. He'd come by and he'd take me to the Senate gym. I'll never forget the first time he took me. I hadn't met any of these famous players. I got sworn in late compared to the other senators. I'll never forget walking into the Senate gym and him introducing me to Senator Jack Javits and Warren Magnuson, both of whom were stark naked when I met them. And I remembered, oh my God, Senator, how are you? But he never, he sort of took on the role of being my older brother. He just was there all the time, and I never asked. And I never could really understand, to tell you the truth at first. I didn't understand why he was going out of his way for me this way. He got me on the committees that I ended up chairing. He was sort of my tutor, sort of exposing this kid from Scranton to a world that I had never seen and didn't fully understand. I used to go home every night in the beginning. I went home every night for 36 years, but I went home every night as soon as Senate was out. And I never once accepted any invitation in Washington, not out of a desire not to be in Washington. I just wanted to get home. After one afternoon, Teddy came to my office and said, Joe, look, I got to give you a piece of advice. He said, I got a call from Pamela Harriman. This is the fourth invitation you've gotten from Governor Harriman to come to one of his dinners. Now, I didn't know enough to know that that was a big deal. I really didn't. I honest to God didn't. And he said, Joe, you've got to go. You've got to go. It just doesn't look good. I'll go with you. And I'll never forget going into Averell Harriman's home in Georgetown and sitting he was sitting in a armchair, a wing chair. I was on the couch next to the chair nearest Averell Harriman. Teddy was next to me. Henry Kissinger was across from me, and Paul Warnke, both arms control experts. And I was this 30-year-old kid, and Averell Harriman had a way of sort of trying to include everybody in the conversation. They were talking about a complicated arms control agreement. It used to be the SALT agreement, and this discussion was going on. And all of a sudden, Averell Harriman looked at me and he said, well, Joe, what do the young people think about this? I didn't know what the hell to say, John. I was scared to death. I didn't want to make a fool of me. Here I was, a United States Senator. So I reached over and picked an object up off the coffee table. And I was nervous, and I was flipping it back and forth in my hands like this as I answered the question. And I noticed everyone stiffened up when I was talking. And the butler came in and said, time for dinner, and everybody immediately got up and bolted for the dinner table. And your dad grabbed my arm and he said, God damn it, put that thing down. He said, that costs more than your house. I was flipping a Fabergé egg in my hands.